Hey everyone, welcome to Preface Nomad Junior. I'm Sal, and today we're going to be learning in App Inventor how to get inputs from users. For that, we'll make an app called Age in Seconds, where you input your age. Say I input my age 15. I can convert it to days, hours, or anything that I want. So let's get into App Inventor and start converting some ages. Alright, so let's start. I will start with the designer 90% done. Please pause the video and try to replicate the designer that I've made over here. With all the things that you've learned in the previous lesson, I believe you can accomplish this and make it look like this. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's see what the app looks like, what it wants us to do. So we see that we have a label over here, how old are you? So technically we want to put something for us to put our age in so that it can be converted to some other unit. Say if our age is 23, we want to convert it into days. So we're going to multiply it by a specified number of a number that we're going to discuss later for it to convert to how many days we have lived so far. Okay, so for that, I'll introduce a new concept, is Textbox. You can find a Textbox in user interface. So what a Textbox is, actually, it's a box where you can input things, like where you can tell the app that this is this text, or this is a number, or anything that you input. This is an input for the app to do other stuff. So we'll start with putting the text box here for us to tell us how much our age is. So we'll rename this to input db. Okay, and we'll go over some of the properties that this text box has. So a text box is actually where you can input the stuff. So what it does is there are a lot of properties, similar properties to other components such as height, width. These are all general properties, font size, or what font bold. So this is a property that we have to look into. A hint is something that the text box will show before you type in something, as in a hint that what is there actually to be put in. So we can actually also have how old are you as the hint over here. So whenever before we have typed anything into the text box, we'll have how old are you written over here, so we know what we have to actually type in. But we'll actually type in decimal acceptable, so that a person can put in his or her age as a decimal also. Say if somebody has lived 23 years and 5 months, so they can put in the decimal number to show the 5 months. Okay. So another property that I want you to read over here is this numbers only. Since our age can only be numbers, so what if a person puts in say a string, like he puts in a character, say W or O or P, that's not a valid age, right? So what we'll have to do is we'll have to tick numbers only over here, so that this text box only accepts numbers, because the age can only be numbers. So we'll having this ticked, it should only show us numbers. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is we want something to show the output. For that, we can use a label, as in, because label only displays some text, so we can actually show the output that we have as some text. Or we can use a text box. Why we're using a text box is because of two things. We can limit its in output or input to numbers only, so that whenever the output is given, say after the blocks that we are writing over here, we will be writing over here. Say we by mistake give some string over here, so this text box will not accept that text. Like it will not accept any character, say W, P, O or something like that. It will only accept numbers. So we'll have numbers only over here, since it's an output text box, so we don't need any hint. And we're going to also use this property read only over here. So what read only does is that by its name is something that you can only read from this text box, is that you can only display text like a label. So essentially it works like a label now, but it takes a specified amount of space as whereas a label, if we put a label over here, it will take up the space that how much the text we have for. So let's introduce a list picker over here. So what a list picker is that as we want something of a list to select what the output should be, say we put in our age as 23 over here, and sometimes we want to know how much is our age is in seconds, other time we want to know how much our age is in days, some other time we want to know how much our age is in hours. So we can actually select it from the list and write it in blocks that what the output should be. So a list picker is, by as its name suggests, it is actually something to be picked off from a list, as in we have a in blocks how we have a list and we choose an element from the list. Similarly, we pick up an item from the list over here. So let's rename our list to unit LP, and our output text box to output TB. Okay, so we'll go over some of the properties of this. So what is elements from string? What is elements of string is actually the elements that we'll have in this list. So we can actually input the elements comma separated. So what elements do we want over here? We want months, comma separated, days. So we actually now have two items in the list. So this list will show us two items for now. And we have hours, we have minutes, and we have seconds. Okay, and so it has some general properties of what other components also have, something like font bold, font size, height, width. It also has image as the background that we want for the list. And a text over here is the text that the list is going to show over here. So we have unit over here because it is the unit selection from here. Okay, and let's make it a little bit more beautiful. So let's have the background color to black. Yeah, and let's have the font types. So we'll have this to monospace and text color to white, so that we can see it on the black background. Alright, so since this looks a little ugly in my opinion, so we'll have a horizontal arrangement over here. Let's have a horizontal arrangement over here, and let's place this text box and unit inside of this. Let's have the align horizontal for this horizontal arrangement. First, let's rename this. Let's rename it to output HA because it has all the output components. And let's have the align to center, both of the aligns to center. Let's have the height to 30%. Okay, and let's have the background color to none so that it blends in. Okay, so that with that our app looks ready. Okay, let's check how it looks. So this is how our app actually looks, and you can see that when you click on how old are you, we only have the option to input numbers. So whatever number we have over here is going to be input. And if I try to click on this text box, you see we don't have a keyboard pop because we have ticked the read only property for this text box. And let's see what we have as the list. So if you see, we have actually 5 things as we input it over here. All the comma separated things are coming as a list over here. So let's say I select hours. It says selected hours. Why it's not showing over here is we'll get to it later in blocks. As it should show whatever minutes or seconds or whatever we have selected over here. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's get to blocks. Okay, so first what we want to do is, if you remember in the designer, I showed you that when you pick out something from the list, it doesn't show over here, like it does not change the text. Let's see how we can accomplish that. So for that, we'll see, obviously in unit list, So it has a procedure over here which has after picking. So what after picking does is after you've selected something from this list, this block runs. So what we want to do is whatever shows over here is the text property of the list picker. So we will actually change it to the text of the list picker. So let's have the unit LP text to set the unit LP text to, we'll set it to the selection that we have over here. So for that selection we have a property called selection. Yes. So what this does is it will have what the text change of whatever you pick out of the list. Let's see how that looks in the app. So now if you pick out something from the list, it actually shows over here. If I click on days, it changes. So whatever we have selected, it shows over here. Okay, so now let's place the blocks for the convert button. So what we'll have is the convert button. So whenever the convert button is clicked, we want to do a bunch of things. So what we have to do is that we have to have an if statement of the selection. So we'll have to see, because there can be different selections, all these selections can be months, days, hours, minutes, or seconds. So we'll actually place if statements for all of these to know what to do when each of these elements is selected. So let's first code it for months and then we'll code it for the rest. So let's have an if statement over here, logic over here, and we'll get the selection of the unit LP. Over here, and we'll have some text over here, and we'll write months, so that whenever months is selected, the selection will be months and it will execute this if statement. So what we want to do is whenever months is selected, our output should be the years that the person has input multiplied by 12, because each year has 12 months. So what we'll have is we'll set the output db's text to we'll have a math problem over here, as in we'll multiply the input text that we have over here from input db by 12. Okay, so this is for months. Now what about for days? So let's just duplicate this and have it over here. For duplicate also you can use Control-C, Control-V. You just don't need to duplicate it like this all the time. So we'll have days over here, and the output text multiplied by 365 is because each year has 365 days. So we'll change this to 365. So say if my age is 20 years old, that will multiply by 365, because 1 year has 365 days, so 20 years will have 20 into 365. Let's just duplicate this for another one, and we'll have hours. We'll have it for minutes, and we'll have it for seconds. So all of the list is covered now. So any of the selection that you do from this list will be covered by all of these if statements, because everything is covered now. So, okay, so let's edit it for hours. So what hours is, hours will be, let's have one more over here. Hours will be the input multiplied by 365 multiplied 24 over here, because each day has 24 hours. So we'll have 24 multiplied over here into 60. For minutes, we'll have the input multiplied by 365 multiplied by 24 multiplied by 60. Oh, let's just duplicate this so that we don't have to write it down again. For yes, let's have it for seconds, and just add once more. So for seconds, we'll multiply again by 60, because each minute also has 60 seconds. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's see how it looks in the app. So let's just input, say I'll input 40, say my year is 40, and I'll have days over here, and I'll press on convert. It shows me the days that I have lived for. If I convert seconds, it shows me the seconds. If I convert months, it shows me the months. So what about the case that we haven't selected anything from the list? Say I haven't selected anything from this and it still stays to unit. So for that, what we can do is we can tell the person to give them a hint to choose a unit. So what we'll have is we'll actually make this text bigger and make it red, so the person knows that they have to input something, select something from the list. So for that, what we'll do is whenever the convert button is clicked, we want to have another if statement. Let's just have it from here. We want to have another if statement, and we want to see, let's copy this. We want to see if the text, not the selection, is unit. That means nothing is selected, if you remember. So what we'll do is at that time we'll set the instruction labels text color to red. Instruction label text color here. We'll set this to red colors, have it over red over here, and we'll set its font size. So let's just duplicate this. We'll have the font size, delete this. We'll have the font size to 22 so that the font goes bigger and the person knows that they have to select something. Okay, so let's see how that looks in the app. Let's just refresh companion screen. So I'll input something over here, and let's say I put 15 over here and I don't actually select anything. I go back and I try to press on convert. See how this goes big. So I've selected minutes. Now it shows me the output. Okay, so the last thing that we have to do is we have to code it for the restart button. So whenever the restart button is clicked, we want to do something. Is that we want to restart the app from the beginning. So what is the things where done when the app starts? This is cleared off. This is cleared off. This has unit. This is actually white. If actually you haven't selected anything from here and press on convert, this will turn to red. And if the restart is clicked, we want to make the app look that it has started newly. So this will be white at that time. This will be blank. This will be blank. This will be unit. And the selection will be none. So let's code for everything. First, let's code for the list picker. We'll set its selection to null or nothing. Set selection to null. Let's move it over here. Set selection to nothing. We'll set its text to unit. All right, and we'll set the instruction labels. Oh, sorry. So we can't do it from here. We'll have the instruction labels text color to white, so that goes back to normal. Let's copy it from here and make it white. and instruction labels, font size, we'll have its font size back to normal, which was 18, because it has started from 18 if you see here. So for it to go back to normal, we'll go back to 18 again, and we'll have the input text box text to input text box text to move to nothing. Similarly, we'll have the output text box text to nothing also. Let's see how our final app looks in the app. Let's refresh the companion screen. Okay, so say I click on convert before selecting anything. See, it turns off to choose a unit. And now I click on restart, everything goes back to normal. I have selected, I input 20 over here, and I don't do anything, and I click on restart, it goes back to normal, like it has started again. So let's actually do something. Let's say the age is 15. We'll have it converted to seconds. Seconds shown over here. If I click on restart, okay, so you see that the output text box doesn't get cleared off. Let's see what we have done wrong. Okay, so we haven't actually made this to output TV. Okay. Let's see how it looks in the app. Let's click on restart and let's refresh the companion screen. Okay, so if I have something over here in the, and I click on restart, okay, now the app works fine. Alright, so let's go over what we learned today. We learned about a text box and how we can use it to input some text. We can use its properties as numbers only and read only to our advantage to make it look like that you can only use input numbers there, or you can only show some text by read only, so it acts as a label. The second thing that we learned about was a list picker and how you can make a list of things for you to choose from that, and how you can use the selection to get some input from the user and then do some code over it. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe.